All right, let's get right into it. If you're studying Macbeth and you want those top grades, a simple plot summary just isn't going to cut it. You need a really sophisticated argument. And that's exactly what we're going to build here. We're going to go way beyond the obvious and dig into what really drives Shakespeare's most infamous tyrant.
So think about this. When the play starts, Macbeth is this incredible hero. Everyone's praising him. But by the end, he's called a dead butcher. So what happened? I mean, is he a good guy who got corrupted by ambition? Or was there something much darker, something rotten, lurking under the surface the whole time? That's the big question we're tackling today.
Okay, so here's our plan. First, we'll look at the standard take. Macbeth is the tragic hero. Then we'll get into his ambition and those witches. After that, we're going to flip the script with a more juicy theory about a thirst for blood. We'll even re-examine the whole power couple dynamic, see how they both fall apart, and then, the best part, I'll show you how to put it all together for a killer final argument.
All right, section 1. Let's set the scene. When we first meet this guy, Macbeth is the man. Seriously, King Duncan himself is calling him Brave Macbeth and a worthy gentleman. He's just won this massive battle, basically saved the whole country. So this is our starting point, our baseline, Macbeth, the celebrated noble hero.
And in literary terms, this setup makes Macbeth a textbook tragic hero. You know the type, a great, noble character who has one major flaw, the fancy term is harmatia, and that one flaw just brings everything crashing down around him. And for Macbeth, pretty much everyone agrees that flaw is ambition, right?
So, where does the train go off the rails? Well, this is where ambition and, of course, the witches enter the picture. They're the ones who light the fuse. Their prophecy is the spark that ignites this hidden, really dangerous fire inside him. Okay, look at these prophecies. They tell him he's going to be Thane of Cawdor. Check. He's going to be king. Check. But here's the kicker, and this is so important. They never, not once, tell him to kill anyone. They just plant the idea. The decision to water that seed with blood, that's all on him.
And what's crazy is, Macbeth totally knows it. This quote right here, it's basically his confession. He says his ambition is like a horse rider who gets too eager, jumps way too high, and just completely wipes out. He's admitting his ambition is out of control and it's going to ruin him. This is like exhibit A for the whole ambition is his fatal flaw argument.
But hang on a second. Is it really that simple? Is ambition the whole story? Because, getting the best grades means you have to challenge the easy answer. So let's ask a much more interesting, maybe even a more dangerous question. What if his true fatal flaw isn't wanting to be king, but just loving the thrill of the kill?
All right, so if it's not just ambition, what are we talking about here? This brings us to our big counter-argument, a pure thirst for blood. Let's really dig into this idea that what's driving Macbeth isn't just wanting the crown, but that he has this deep, built-in love of killing. Something that makes him a hero on the battlefield, but an absolute monster back home.
And boom, here's our proof, right at the beginning of the play. This is how a sergeant describes Macbeth's handiwork. He didn't just beat the rebel MacDonald. He unseamed him from the nave to the chaps. I mean, think about that. He sliced him open from his belly button to his jaw. That's not just a soldier doing his job. That is brutal, it's personal. It's like he's enjoying it. And get this, the first part of the prophecy, becoming Thane of Cawdor, comes true without him lifting a finger. It just happens. So you'd think, logically, he might just wait and see if the king part happens too, right? Nope, not Macbeth. The second he hears he'll be king, where does his mind go? Straight to murder. He immediately pictures killing Duncan. This tells you the idea wasn't new. It was already there, just waiting for permission.
Okay, so if we start seeing Macbeth as this potentially violent guy from the start, that totally changes how we look at the power couple, right? I mean, the usual story is that Lady Macbeth is the one pulling all the strings, pushing her poor, hesitant husband to do the terrible deed. But is that really what's happening? Let's look closer because it gets way more complicated than that.
Let's put these two views side by side. The standard view, yeah, we all know that one, but now look at the counter-argument. Think about this for a second. Why does Macbeth send a letter? He's on his way home. He could have just told her in person. The theory is he sends that letter on purpose. He's manipulating her. He dangles the prophecy in front of her, knowing she'll get all fired up and do the dirty work of actually planning the murder that he already wants to commit.
And this quote is the smoking gun. It proves she has no idea who she's married to. She's worried he's too full of the milk of human kindness.
Seriously? Kindness? This is the guy who just filleted another man on the battlefield. Her read on him is totally, completely wrong. It shows she isn't the master manipulator everyone thinks she is. He actually has her figured out perfectly.
So, Duncan is dead. And this is where the couple starts to unravel. But what's fascinating is they don't fall apart together. Their paths to madness go in completely opposite directions. It's like we're watching two totally different psychological breakdowns happening at the same time.
Just look at how Macbeth's violence escalates. First, killing Duncan. Okay, he needs that big push from his wife. But then he decides to kill Banquo, and he plans that one all by himself. That's about protecting his throne. But then, the murder of Macduff's entire family, his wife, his little kids, there is absolutely no political reason to do that. It doesn't help him keep the crown. That's not ambition anymore. That is just pure, unleashed rage and bloodlust. And here's the massive, tragic irony of the whole play. Remember how Macbeth was terrified he had murdered Sleep? Well, as he becomes a full-blown tyrant, he seems to be doing okay. But Lady Macbeth, the one who said, "Oh, don't worry, a little water will wash this away," she is completely consumed by guilt. She's the one who can't sleep, the one who's literally haunted by blood she can't wash off.
I mean, her sleepwalking scene is just legendary. It's a total mental collapse. And listen to what she's saying. Out damned spot. She's not just talking about Duncan anymore. She mentions the Thane of Fife's wife, that's Lady Macduff. She's carrying the guilt for all of the murders, for this monster that she realizes she helped unleash.
Okay, time to bring it all home. Let's talk about how you actually write your essay. You've got these two big, powerful ideas. Ambition on one side, bloodlust on the other. So how do you turn that into a top-grade argument? Here's the secret. You don't pick a side. You show how they're connected.
So what you do is you balance the evidence. In the ambition column, you've got his famous vaulting ambition quote, the fact that he needed Lady Macbeth to push him, his paranoia about losing the crown. Solid points. But in the bloodlust column, you have that horrifying description of him on the battlefield, the way his mind jumps straight to murder, and of course the pointless, brutal slaughter of Macduff's family.
And here it is. This is the key takeaway for that top-grade analysis. You argue that these two flaws aren't two separate things. They feed each other. His ambition didn't create his violent side. It just aimed it. It gave his inner bloodlust a target, the crown, and a twisted excuse to let loose. Ambition basically weaponized the darkness that was in him all along.
So, in the end, what are we left with? Who is Macbeth? Is he just a pawn of fate? A victim of the witches? Is he a good man destroyed by ambition? Or was he always, deep down, a monster just waiting for the right moment to come out? The most powerful, most chilling answer is that he's all three.